What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through my 2022 Community Day predictions. What Pokemon do I think are getting a Community Day this coming year? Let's get into it, timestamps below as always. First thing I want to do is credit all the other YouTubers who have made this video before me. I know PokeAK's made a video on this, Heroes of Fandom made one, and Trainer Club just came out with one as well. So I'm going to link all their videos below if you want to find out what their predictions for Community Days are. I also just want to credit anyone who was in the Cubchoo Spotlight Hour for helping me come up with this list. Okay, I like to take a realistic approach to this. What I have here, and I'll link this below, is a list of all the past communities in Pokemon Go, starting with the ones in 2018 like Pikachu, Dratini, Bulbasaur, and going all the way up to now. If you didn't know, Niantic used to have a formula for Community Days. What they would do is they would have a starter Pokemon, specifically the grass starter, for example, Bulbasaur. Then they would have a random Pokemon, for example, Mareep. Then they would go into the fire starter of that generation, Charmander, and then another random Pokemon, for example, here, Larvitar. Then after that, they would go into the water starter of that generation, Squirtle, and then another random Pokemon, and then they would go on to the next gen. So as you can see, the starter from Gen 2, Chikorita, and then a random Pokemon, starter, random Pokemon, for example, here it's the wrap-up event, starter, random Pokemon, starter, random Pokemon, and they did this all the way up until Piplup. Then as you can see, we got Rhyhorn, and what we were expecting here was Oshawott. However, obviously it didn't happen. The formula broke apart. We got Abra, Seedot, Weedle, and just a bunch of random Pokemon started coming in. Of course, Charmander had a redo Community Day here, but there was no sort of pattern. So it's kind of hard to tell what Niantic is going to do now. But what I'm going to do for this Community Day is I'm going to take a look at the 2021, the most recent Community Days, and I'm going to try to base off my predicts of this year based off how last year went. You guys will see in a second. Let's get into it. Starting with January, which of course we already know is going to be Spheal. Spheal is a Community that we wanted for a long time, and I think a lot of people already guessed that Spheal was coming in January, so very good, we got that. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a look at February's Community Day of 2021. We had Roselia. It is a flower Pokemon, so what I'm going to base my guess off this year is going to be flowers. My first guess on what I think is coming is going to be a Hoppip Community Day. February, we're going to have the Johto Tour, of course, and Hoppip will be a new shiny during the Johto Tour. So what I think they're going to do is they're actually going to give it a Community Day in February. Couple moves I think they will give. Jumpluff, which is the evolution of Hoppip, would be a possible Fairy Wind, which would be a new Fairy Fast move, which charges energy very quickly. Maybe they could give it Grass Knot, and maybe they could even give it Bullet Seed. One of those three moves I think would come on Jumpluff. By the way, if you guys are curious how to predict Community Day moves, if you don't know, Pokemon Go takes moves from the main series games and gives them to Community Day Pokemon. So they don't just give any Pokemon any move in Pokemon Go, it's actually based off certain things. For example, here, I'm just going to search Jumpluff Cerebi, go on the Cerebi website, and then here you can see all the moves that Jumpluff learns in the main series games. Go through all of these and find out which ones are already in Pokemon Go and Jumpluff doesn't know. As you can see, Fairy Wind is here. Obviously that's not a move in Pokemon Go, but that has been data mined and that possibly could be coming. You can see Grass Knot right here, which was one of my other guesses, and Seed Bomb right here as well, which was one of my other guesses. Two other ones I could possibly see coming in February would be Oddish getting Community Day, evolving into Blossom and Vileplume, of course. There's not really many moves that can make Vileplume and Blossom very good, so I just threw Seed Bomb as a possible Community Day move because both of them can learn that. And then Sunkern finally could get a Community Day, evolving into Sunflora. But again, Seed Bomb could be a possible move that could make Sunflora a bit better. Next up, after Roselia Community Day, we had Fletchling Community Day. This was actually the first Gen 6 Pokemon getting Community Day. So what I think maybe this year they'll do is redo another Gen 6 Pokemon in March. Litleo evolving into Pyroar, which is a possible March Community Day for Gen 6 Pokemon. Not a lot of moves that could make Pyroar very good. It's missing a good fast move, and there's not a lot of good fast moves that it knows in the main series games that it could possibly learn. So I just threw Crunch and Wild Charge as two possible moves Pyroar could learn, but really that Pokemon wouldn't be getting any insane buff. After Fletchling Community Day, we got, of course, Snivy Community Day. So I could see in April or around April, like obviously these are all guesses, giving Gen 6 Community Day, so Chespin would get a Community Day. Who knows, maybe they'll release Chespin shiny early in an event, kind of like they did with Snivy last year. But of course, Chestnut would learn the move Frenzy Plant and be an absolute beast. Definitely a nice shiny right there. We have May Community Day after that. So as you can see in May, we had Swablu Community Day. Now what I'm going to say for May and what my Community Day guessed is that they're trying to introduce 400 candy Pokemon to Community Days. As you can see in August of last year, we had Magikarp, which is 400 candy to go into Gyarados. So I think that both Wailmer and Noibat, which I believe are the only two other 400 candy Pokemon in Pokemon Go, could get Community Days. I think this year we're going to get Wailmer would be more possible. Wailmer into Wailord learning the move Waterfall would turn Wailord into kind of like pretty much the exact same thing as Kyogre in the Master League, but in the Great League and Ultra League. Even though Wailord's stats aren't very good, so it is still held back, it would have a similar moveset. And then Noibat, of course, I think it is a little too early to give Noibat a Community Day, but if Noibat were to get a Community Day this year, there's a lot of possible moves it could learn. Noivern could learn Wing Attack, Gust, Dragon Claw, Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, and maybe even introduce the new move Boom Burst into Pokemon Go, which I believe is Noibat's like signature move. A lot of possible moves for Noivern. I think it does need a new fast move and a new charge move to be good in PvP, but a possible Community Day for me. Then looking back in June, we had Gible. Gible. So my thoughts is that every year Pokemon Go is gonna put one community day everyone is gonna get hyped for, and it's gonna be in the summertime. Kind of like how they hyped up everyone for Gible in June. That was the best community day of the year. Everyone was super excited about that. I think this year, and I think it's gonna happen, Dino community day. Gible is the Gen 4 pseudo legendary and Dino is the Gen 5 pseudo legendary, so it only makes sense. Dino already has been milked pretty much in raids and in eggs and all that stuff for the shiny, so I believe now they're gonna make that shiny available to everyone else. It's bound to happen. They did it with Gible, they've done it with Larvitar, Chini, all these other pseudo legendaries. So I think Dino community day is coming. Moves that Hydreigon could learn for community day that would make it great would be, of course, Snarl would be the first one, but then other moves that could possibly learn would be Crunch and Outrage, two other possible moves that could make it good, but Snarl would probably be the best move it could learn. After that, in July, we of course see Tepig, so I think they're gonna give Fennekin a community day in July. Makes sense in the middle of summer and a fire Pokemon, and of course Delphox would learn the starter move of Blast Burn. Super nice shiny on those two. We then have August. Now August was actually Eevee community day, so maybe what they're gonna start doing is going to start making remake community days once a year for Pokemon that, you know, are just fan favorites and people love. We saw it with Eevee, and we actually saw it in October with Charmander last year. So possible Pokemon that could get a community day remake that are fan favorites, I would say would be, first of all, Dratini. Dratini did have a community day back in 2018, so who knows, maybe we'll get a remake this year, since a lot of people probably weren't playing in 2018 that are still playing now. Possible moves Dragonite could learn. Dragonite already knows so many moves, but there's so many moves Dragonite could possibly learn. Moves like Wing Attack, Fire Punch, Earthquake, Focus Blast. Honestly, Dragonite is already a very strong Pokemon. There's not many moves that can make it better, but those are possible moves. We then also have Pikachu, which could get a remake. Now, I don't think people would be the happiest with Pikachu as a community day because it was the first ever community day in 2019, but of course, Pikachu is a fan favorite, is the mascot of Pokemon, so that could get a remake community this year. It's just a guess, but maybe, who knows. And possible moves Raichu could learn would be Surf. I think it would have the most use because that would allow it to cover some ground type weaknesses it has. Then in September, of course, we got Oshawott, so I could see Froakie coming this month. Froakie is a very wanted community day, and I think plenty of people would be going after it. And of course, Greninja would learn the legacy move Hydro Cannon during the community day because it is the starter community day move. And who knows, maybe they'll release Ash Greninja in some sort of fashion during that community day as well, which is kind of like a mega evolved version for Greninja. We then have October, which is probably gonna be one of the most anticipated months to see what Pokemon Go does with community days. I have 4 guesses for October. Of course, the first one is going to be Litwick. We wanted Litwick this year. We didn't get it, but who knows, maybe it'll come next year. Litwick into Chandelure, learning the move Shadow Claw would make it an absolute beast in PvP and a beast as a ghost type raid attacker, although it already is a pretty good ghost type raid attacker and all around. Definitely an anticipated community day. If this doesn't happen in the next couple of years, I don't really know what they're thinking over there in Niantic. We then have Frillish, which is a possible community day, I think, as well. We don't have the shiny Frillish this year, but who knows, maybe they will release it in October or before October during the year. And then we're gonna get shiny Jellicent in the both different genders there. Possible moves that the Jellicent could learn would be Surf, would give it a actual water move that it actually does some good damage, unlike Bubble Beam. Icy Wind, which would be pretty much similar to Bubble Beam, but an ice type move. Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball, Scald, all possible moves. I think seeing Scald on this Pokemon would actually be pretty cool. Scald is actually a decent move now with the buff. Then we also have Golett, which would get a possible community day. This would of course have to be a new shiny unless it's released before the community day. Now the issue with Golurk, which is the evolution of Golett, is right now it's missing a good fast move. After taking a look at all the possible moves it could learn, there's no really good fast move that is currently in the game that has good energy gain or good damage that could go onto Golurk and make it meta relevant. So unless they introduce some sort of new fast move for Golurk, Golurk won't have the best play. Possible charge moves though it could learn would be Shadow Ball and Body Slam, which would give it some play, but Golurk already has a pretty good charge move setup. We also finally have Gothita, which could get a community day. Gothita is just a shiny that I think is just well overdue and should be in Pokemon Go by now. So unless they release it during some sort of Halloween event, if they give it a community day, possible moves that Gothitelle could learn would be Psyshock, Foul Play, and Shadow Ball. Again, Gothitelle is missing a good fast move. Right now it can learn Confusion, which of course is a good move, but Confusion works well on Pokemon like Hypno because they're so tanky, and Gothitelle doesn't have that bulk. So I think if Gothitelle could learn Psyshock, but unfortunately can't learn it in the main series games, it would be a lot better. So again, they would have to introduce some new fast move that could make Gothitelle well. We then move into the last community day of the year, which is going to be November. Taking a clear look at November, we see Shinx. Now Shinx was one of those Pokemon that was locked behind raids and eggs for the longest time, and that's the only way you could get it, and it was a valuable shiny. Obviously, they gave it a Community, and it was kind of unexpected. Like, obviously, we thought maybe it was gonna come, but I think this is the first time they've gave us a raid locked non-pseudo-legendary Pokemon in Community, so it's kind of cool. This makes me look to the future in which Pokemon like Timber and Clink could get a Community in November. First of all, Timber, super nice shiny. Of course, it's raid and egg locked right now, but Timber into Conkeldurr, moves it could possibly learn would be Superpower, Rock Slide, or Power Up Punch. I think it would get the most use out of Power Up Punch, but all in all, a good Community there. We then also have Clink into Clink-Clank. Now, Clink-Clank needs some work in terms of moveset. It needs a better charge move, so possible charge moves it could learn would be Wild Charge. This would make it similar to a Magnezone in terms of moveset, but then of course, other fast moves it could learn for Community move would be Volt Switch and Lock On, but those wouldn't help it as much as Wild Charge. That is pretty much my guesses. Of course, December Community is always a wrap-up Community of all the past Communities in which you can get the ones you missed. Now, what I'm gonna say here is that of course these are all guesses and they're not guaranteed to happen. I'm gonna throw in now a couple wild cards, which are Communities that I think could come this year, but I just don't know how to place them in terms of my little ranking here. Let's go through those wild cards right now. First of all, we have Starly Community. I think Starly Community is another one that we've wanted for a very, very long time. Starly into Staraptor, as you can see the shiny on screen. I think they should give Staraptor the move Fly, which is already in Pokemon Go. It would make Staraptor very good because Staraptor right now is missing a low energy charge move. We then have Togetic. If you guys have been watching me for a while, Togetic is a big Community I've been predicting for a long, long time, ever since Electabuzz Community. Electabuzz Community and Magmar Community actually were a Community where they gave Electabuzz in the wild and from 2 kilometer eggs was hatching the baby forms of Elekid and Magby. I think they could do this exact same formula with Togetic, put Togetic in the wild, then throw Togepi in the 2 kilometer eggs, and then give it, of course, quarter egg hatch distance. I think this is one that would come during April because April is when Easter is and Togetic's an egg Pokemon. Possible moves you could give Togekiss, which is the evolution, of course, would be Fairy Wind, which we talked about would be a new fairy fast move, fast energy gain, and then Aura Sphere as well, which is a fighting move which Lucario can learn, and a pretty good move that I think Togekiss could use pretty well to cover those steel type weakness. Next up, we have Poliwag with the Community. Now, Poliwag into Politoed and Poliwrath. That Politoed shiny is super nice. Possible moves that you could give Poliwrath, Politoed. I'm not sure if they can both learn these moves. I was kind of lazy in my research, but I know Politoed can learn all these moves. Earth Power, which would be just a better version of Earthquake for coverage on Politoed. Bubble Beam, which would allow some debuff play with both of those Pokemon. And then finally, Waterfall would give them a different option for fast moves. But they both have pretty diverse movesets already. Second, lastly, we have Magnemite. Magnemite evolving into Magnezone. I know a lot of people want this shiny. And Magnezone, I feel it deserves a Community at some point. Now, the problem with Magnezone is it's missing a good steel charge move. I don't think there's a lot of good steel charge moves in the game, so what I think they could do is maybe introduce the move Metal Sound into the game, which could be a decent steel fast move to compete with the move Meteor Mash. You could also give it Gyro Ball, which is an already steel charge move in the game, but it's not a very good move. And then finally, of course, they could give Magnezone a couple different fast move options like Thunder Shock and Volt Switch, but those wouldn't be as valuable as a new steel charge move. Final wildcard guess of the year is going to be Axew. Now, I feel like it's too early for an Axew Community because first we need to get Dino, of course, but Axew is a Community that I think people want. You know, I could see this one maybe going in November in place of the Shinx that we had last year. And the one move I'm going to recommend Haxorus getting is going to be the move Outrage. Haxorus is already pretty good in PvP. It has a good PvP moveset, but I know a lot of people want more Pokemon that get a Community and are good for raids, kind of like how we had Rockrucker Rhyperior. Now, if Haxorus actually gets the move Outrage, it would actually be number 4 in terms of damage per second as a Dragon type raid attacker. So it would make Haxorus a lot better for raids and viable as a Dragon type raid attacker. It would still be outclassed by Rayquaza, but still a very good Pokemon. So I think an Axew Community would be nice. You get that shiny Black Dragon as well. All in all, I could definitely see that happening. Maybe not this year, but next year. That's my Community predictions for the year. Again, all these guesses can mix and match. I don't really have any way to tell what exact months we're exactly getting what, except for I believe June is going to be Dino. That's my one guess that I think I'm 100% correct on. I'd love to know what you guys think about my predictions and what are your predictions for 2022 Communities. What Pokemon do you want to see the most? Hope you guys are excited for 2022. I wish you all a very, very happy transition into the new year. We're going to see you all in the next one, guys. Follow for more tips, everyone. Peace.